Hello.
Hello. Dr. Grisso said I looked like I gained 30 pounds. Not that she was calling me fat, but she was like, no, it looks like you've like got like more like bulky, like muscular, and like tall.
Yeah, 30 pounds is a lot.
It is.
That's a good compliment.
It is. But I thought she called me fat, so I was like, what? My AP World teacher was like, it looks like you've grown 30 pounds since the start of school year, and I was like, damn. But I thought she was calling me fat, so I was like, what? But she was like, no, it just looks like you're bigger. I was like, oh, thank you. March 29th.
Yeah, it's true false.
Cool.
I was like, didn't we just take that?
Oh, this is old. Sorry.
There it is.
Oh, up my phone. Go ahead.
Oh, wait.
You should go get it.
Okay.
Because I don't want you to forget it. I just didn't slide over.
No, you're fine. Did you put your phone clear?
Sorry, I didn't.
Okay.
That was an old agenda.
I don't get the thing.
Algebra has a bunch of letters in it, variables.
Okay. Oh.
He's saying, I heard you're good at English, so I put letters in your math, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, we got 3 things to check off our list today. First up, I've asked you to go back and finish that test review that you already had half of it done for the first half of the junior. So that was like a month ago, practically. We've been on this forever, looking at third grade. And so I'd ask you to do those other questions. So I need you to get that out and see if there's any of those you would like to ask for help on. And then second, after those questions are taken, I will give you a chance to ask some questions from this quiz from last class.
That's just so quiet.
Well, yeah,
And Braden, you go with it.
And finally,
So,
We do have our short true-false quiz that I told you about last class, so that will be next.
why am I always getting 19 out of 30 on every quiz I ever take in this class?
Christian, do you want me to count you late? Because I need you to be ready in class thirds.
I am ready. I had to go to
No,
the bathroom.
you're not. Dude, what have I...
What column?
No work, none.
See, you're not ready. You're talking instead of reading.
Today's the 31st.
Okay, I need to fix that. Thank you.
Oh.
That is a useful comment.
This is questions though from this, right?
It's correct. It's just not the right date up there. I'll fix it for you.
What? You got a straw or? Put a straw, I guess it's the same.
I thought it was a straw too at first.
No.
So, the quantum tunnel actually.
Okay, so those are the three big things we've got going on today. So, with your test review out, I guess give me a second to find mine. See which questions you would like some help on. So, similar to what we did last semester, I would think that your quiz is going to be the best resource to help you know what you need to review and study for the test. And then the test review would be second most important. So, questions from 99, the test review, and I am asking for 2 assignments before we start the test on Monday. I opened both those up in Google Classroom earlier today, so if you want to turn them in early, you can. Okay, so what can I help with from the test review?
I was a little confused. It's in print weird, or is the print weird symbol?
It just printed weird. It's supposed to be 1 square root.
That's kind of what I was guessing.
Although in calculus sometimes you do this, which is integration, and then like as you get to like Cal 3 and stuff, there will be like 2 of them in a row, which means integrate and then integrate right behind it. So yeah, sometimes in math,
How do you integrate an integration?
well, you integrate and then you integrate what your answer was, but you don't know how to integrate because you haven't learned calculus yet.
Oh, this is pre-cal though.
So pre
Preparation.
before calculus. This is
Oh.
skills to help you get ready for calculus. Calculus, the only thing we've done that is calculus is that limits unit. All of this stuff is just meant to make calculus easier. It's not calculus. Logarithms show up in calculus, but calculus is basically limits, derivatives, and integrals. So, all right, Tyler, what you got?
Can you show me
32?
13?
Oh, 13.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I didn't think it went that far. Okay, 13 says, find the exact value of log base 2 of 16 minus parentheses log base 2 of 8 minus log base 2 of 1/8. Okay, I'm going to show this one 2 different ways because someone asked about this one earlier today and then they said, oh, I thought you should start it off like this, and the way they started off was also okay. What I think is probably the easiest is to evaluate any of them that are nice whole numbers, like 2 to the 4th gives you 16, 2 to the what gives you 8. Okay, too slow. And then 2 to the what gives you 1/8.
1/3.
Not 1/3. Negative 3. If 2 to the 3rd gives you 8, then 2 to the negative 3 gives you 1/8. So if you do it like that, you end up with this, and you get an answer of negative 2. That's what I think is the easiest way to do that. You see how I changed all these 3 to numbers? But they said, and this is fine too, honestly, a lot of the questions that were asked today could be worked in a lot of different ways, so sometimes it just depends on what you think is easiest. So the person who asked this in first period today said, well, I thought I needed to condense these. So they did, they put this over this, and technically that's true. So dividing by 1/8 is the same thing as multiplying by 2. So that's like 64.
You okay with why this becomes 64?
8 times 8 pretty much.
Dividing by 1/8 is the same thing as multiplying by his reciprocal, which is why it's 64. And then you could evaluate, but this is still going to be 4, this is going to be 6. Either way, you're going to end up with -2 as an answer. So I guess you could even condense a second time, but okay, anything more specific about 13 before I take it away? Okay, what else from test review? Certain questions like number one is from section 3.1. So if something was used in 3.1 or 3.2 and we kept using that in 3.3, 3.4, then it's still fair game. Like this is still fair game for the test because we have still been evaluating logarithms. But question like number 1 was really just something in 3.1 and we haven't done that since 3.1. It's not a part of 3.3 or 3.4, so you don't need to like restudy question 1 or restudy question 2, just the stuff that is applicable. Nothing else from the test review? There was like 10 questions in my first period, so that's fine if that's all you guys have on that. But
Can you go over E?
number 1E.
Oh, 14E. No, 14E. Yeah. Sorry. Yes, sir. Sorry.
Okay. So what is the most common logarithm trick to help you solve equations?
Whoa. It's 2 to the 3.
Okay.
I thought I just did the whole thing wrong.
Hmm?
I thought I did the whole thing.
Change the whole thing what?
Switch it from exponential to logarithm.
Right. So 90% of the equations to solve, at some point you need to switch it from either exponential to logarithmic or logarithmic to exponential. If you correctly switch this to logarithmic, it's going to look like that. So log base 2 of 9, is this a whole number? Okay, 2 to what power gives you 9?
Oh, my fault.
Okay, so we're going to leave that alone. And then how do we solve this for t?
Divide by
So switch the forms and divide both sides by 3. Okay, now I have not said this much, or if I've said it maybe once, so this applies to everybody here. The easiest way to check these is with a calculator. On the test, we're not going to let you have a calculator. But this is going to seem kind of crazy for a second, but it's really not that bad. If you think this is your answer and you're finished with the test and you have more time, you should want to plug it into the original equation to see if it works. So in place of t, if I put my whole answer there, I'm interested to see if this equals 9. Well, do you see how times 3 divided by 3 are just going to cancel? And what is 2 to the log base 2 of 9?
9.
That's one of the properties we learned earlier. So it looks like it would be really hard to check manually, but most of the time it works out pretty good. So that confirms to me that that's correct. So consider doing that sometimes, as time permits at least. Okay, if you have more questions from that, I will take them, but it sounds like we need to move on because y'all are low on them if you're not out of them. So the next step in today's lesson is quiz questions. So we used quiz forms L and M. So you do need to tell me the form that you had that goes with the question. So like question 2 is the same type of question on both forms, but not the exact same skill, but yep. Luke, go ahead.
What was this number in the book? I can't remember.
I don't remember. We can look it up in the agendas later.
Can you do 7 on Form M?
7 on Form M. Okay, so 7's not the same on the other form, but it is a similar skill. So sometimes it just depends on where you're getting stuck. But like I said on the one that Christian asked about, the most common step, especially if you're stuck on a question, you need to ask yourself, is it in logarithmic form? Switch it to exponential. Is it in exponential? Switch it into logarithmic. So on those practice quizzes that we did, 5 of the 6 solved that way. And this one, if you considered switching the forms and you did it correctly, then all you had to do was add 1 and you were done. And since log base 3 of 12 is not a nice whole number, we're not going to try to simplify it. Just leave it as is. Now, let's say that we check this. Can you guys visualize plugging this in for x? Is that too much to visualize? If I plug this in for x, do you see how the -1 plus 1 would cancel? And then what's 3 to the log base 3 of 12?
12.
And that's what it's supposed to be. So you can still check it even without a calculator. You just have to do a little bit of work. Okay. Anybody who's not asked a question yet today, let me give you a chance before others ask more quiz questions. What was the hardest question on the quiz? How about that? We don't have to work it out unless y'all want to. I'm just curious, which one took the most time, the most thought? AJ?
10 from 1M.
10. Okay. Would you like to see it worked out? Okay. And same question type, slightly different numbers here though. Okay, so I have not dug deep into the test to look at it, but I would be very surprised if there was not at least one question where you needed to do condensing as part of your solving. So you need to condense both those log base 2's with division because they were separated with subtraction. And interestingly, or interesting to me I guess, is a lot of people did that right and then they even did the next step right, and then there was a lot of like people losing the last point or two. But are you okay with that part? Okay, so now I'm hoping you get sick of me saying this. It's in logarithmic form. It looks a little more complicated, but this is logarithmic form. So if you switched it to exponential form, these two are just going to switch place. And what is 2 to the 3rd power going to equal?
9.
Okay, and then you can multiply both sides by x so that you don't have a fraction. And then you could take away an x from both sides, and you can undo times with divide on both sides. But there's a lot of people you guys got right here, and then you kind of froze at the end. So, but honestly, the hard part was behind you. Condensing a logarithm and switching forms is way harder than just multiplying both sides by x, subtracting an x from both sides, and undoing times with divide. Or it should be harder because you've been practicing those steps for years. Whereas this, the first step, I think y'all didn't see that in Algebra 2, so that's completely new. And this step, I guess you did see in Algebra 2, but maybe not any that looked that complicated.
There's also logarithms, but I don't know if we saw the condensing stuff.
You do
Yeah, it seemed like from asking all my classes, it seems like y'all didn't do any condensing, but I think that shows up on the ACT though, so not like every time, but I think it does show up sometimes, so at least y'all have seen it now. Yes?
Can you do 8 on form L?
8L.
I thought I was doing it right, but I was not.
Okay, what do you think you should start off with?
Well, you put a check mark to what I started off with.
Okay, but I don't remember that, so you want to share?
Oh, yes, sir, I was about to share. E to the 2x equals 25. Oh, well, minus 10 divided by 2.
Okay, so that becomes 50 divided by 2 is 25, okay?
Yes.
I will say there was one person who did that and then like they did their arithmetic wrong, so you don't have to do that one step, you can slow down. Okay, and then you got to here, and then you had a mistake?
Yes, sir. I did, 2x L and E. I don't know where I got that from.
Okay, it sounds like here's what you did. It sounds like you took the natural log of this side.
Uh-huh.
Now this is an exponent on something you're taking the log of, so the 2x can come down out front. I'm okay with that, but you can't just take the natural log of this side without also taking the natural log of that side. You got to keep your equation balanced. So I'm guessing you left this at 25.
Yes, sir. And then I did divide by 2 over L and E.
Okay, but if you had done the natural log of this side, this is 1,
Uh-huh.
so you don't have to keep up with it. So the last thing you needed to do was divide by 2. That was your answer.
Crap.
Or, the thing I'm trying to annoy y'all with so that it sticks in your brain,
You never annoy me.
well, I'm trying to.
Oh. Well, I hope it's not reciprocated.
This is exponential form. Switch the form. As I said, you've got options here, and you end up with natural log of 25, divide both sides by 2. More than one way to get to it, so whatever you think is going to be easier is fine. The only problem is if you guys like bring this down with that, sometimes like some people are bringing down a 2x and not putting like a log. You can't bring an exponent down unless it's the exponent on a logarithm. So as long as you're not doing something mathematically illegal, or you run out of time, there's should be multiple paths to the correct answer.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
But I do think switching the forms, even if you didn't want to do it on that question, that helped on 7 and 8, and I think you need to do it on 9 and 10 and 11 and 12. All 6 of these were helpful if you'd switched the form at some point. And I think on our practice test, you needed 5 of the 6. So, our practice quiz. Okay, we got some more. Yes.
Can I ask a question about the review?
Sure.
C, 14C.
14C. Okay, so another one that you could work a number of different ways. I asked somebody in my first period how they started this off, and it was different than how I started it off, but we compared methods at least. So, would your first step be to condense these two, or something else?
I tried to cancel all the natural logs.
Okay, you can't do that here. Because like this is natural log of something plus natural log of something equals the natural log. So like there's 2 of them over here separated by addition, and there's just 1 here. What you could do, that sounds like the path you want to take, is you can take 1 step to condense, so these 2 get multiplied. Minus 2x minus an x. So I condense those 2 with multiplication. You okay with that?
So,
Now that this is natural log of some stuff and this is natural log of some stuff, it's not that they really go away, but we can ignore them for a second and we can just make sure that this inside stuff is the same. And that sounds like what you were trying to do, but you can't do that at first. Only if it's like one type of log of some stuff equals the same type of log of some stuff can you ignore the logs. But this plus and then having multiple of them is different. So then you're left with the quadratic. So everything on one side set equal to 0. That doesn't look right. Minus 7, add 4, add 5. Factor it. If you do guess and check, make sure that you check. This equals 0 at 3 over 2. This equals 0 at 3. But this step where I ignored this natural log, they don't really cancel out. They don't really go away. That step sometimes creates extraneous solutions. So you need to imagine plugging them in. If I plug in a 3 over 2 here, here, and here, You get the log of a positive, log of a positive, log of a positive. It's fine to take the log of a positive number. You plug in positive 2, you're going to take the log of 3, the log of 1, the log of 3. It's fine to take the log of a positive number. So both of those are fine. But you do have to consider checking for extraneous solutions. And just to show some variety here, see if I can find where they did it. Okay, so here's how the person in my first period, y'all are my fifth period, first period, did the same question. They actually subtracted this over and condensed everything. So these two got multiplied, and then this stuff got divided, and then there was nothing left over here. Then they switched it from logarithmic form to exponential form, but e to the 0 became 1. Multiply both sides by 4x minus 5 so you don't have fractions, and then you're still left with a quadratic to solve. So you still need to put it all on one side set equal to 0 and solve with factoring. So in that case it ends up being the same. So I don't think that this is easier, but that's how they saw to do it, and it worked out just fine too. So. Okay, sounds like we need to, you guys will have time to ask questions from the rest of that, but it sounds like we need to move on to our true-false quiz. So it is short. You guys don't need to turn in your phones or anything. Just make sure that you put them away somewhere where you don't accidentally grab it for a couple minutes.
Don't accidentally grab it, purposely grab it.
Okay, well if you purposely grab it, then I don't feel bad giving you a 0.
You're not gonna leave.
Baseball.
Y'all want to do it or not?
Yeah. It's short.
Okay, so true false only, 17 questions, but it is only a minor grade. Go ahead. Kind of against you.
Yeah. 100 and the view is 99.
Any quick steps?
Yes. Do we write out false or do we put TF? Okay.
Okay, and so it's only at 8.5 points because I only do half a point each, and it is a minor grade. Of course, you should be able to guess half of them just based on not even reading the question. I'll also grade them and get it back to you today. So if there's anything consistently that you're doing wrong, you can correct it. But I'll go one step further, and I will tell you for all of the forms we have, there is 7 true answers and 10 false answers. So you don't have to turn in a paper with 7 true and 10 false, but that's the only way you're going to get 100. So if you want to put 8 trues, because you
all false.
Okay, and I guess you would know that you lost a certain number of points.
Wait, if there's 10. 10 out of 17 is like what?
Not good.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad, is it? It's over 50%.
When in doubt, false.
I think you should use your brain and aim for 100.
What brain?
Just aim for 100.
That's wild, though. So I've already got 16 false. I'm kidding.
And again, even though it's not worth a ton of points, it is worth a few points, so you still need to put in your best effort. And this quiz is number 100. So, probably should number it, but she will get it back today. And then I'm gonna suggest that you put some sort of a reminder in your phones about our test being on Monday, even if you think you're prepared for it. Obviously, just studying for 5 or 10 minutes is still gonna help. I will be asking for 97 and 99 for homework grades. So if you want to turn those in early, those are in Google Classroom. Otherwise, hard copies before we start the test. And if you have any studying to do, then I ask that you please do that while you guys are here. You know, you need to study for 2 hours. You're gonna have, I don't know, you'll probably have like 45 minutes or so. So you'll have some time to, no reason not to start it in class if you need to do it. Of course, if you end up finding some questions while you're here, then I would be happy to help.
That's why I was looking.
I don't want you to look. It's not your business. I will tell you when they're done. Okay, so the last two things I need from you guys today is, again, if you know you need to study, then please use some of this class time for that, because you've got 35 minutes from now. So that would put a big dent in what you need to review. And the two assignments I'm asking for, unless for some reason you don't have those completed, we should just go ahead and turn those into the classroom. And I'd be happy to help. Any of those
These are due
you
to-
pass
Or did you
quiz,
seven?
or the two calls.
Impulse, yeah.
Check me out, man.
Okay.
I kept losing count, so I counted.
How'd you get that? Wait, you didn't do. You did pretty good. You weren't here for me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bro didn't get a star.
Did you get it?
Oh yeah, of course.
Of course, you gotta get 100% to get a star.
Of course, the ones that I were switching up like a million times in my head.
Okay.
I counted them at first and
You had lots of time. You
I
could've
had
waited.
8 true,
Yeah,
9
but like
false.
I was like contemplating it, and then I was like, well, I can't like figure it out. I'll just do what I think is best, which was
You
wrong.
go with your gut.
Well, my gut's wrong.
Your gut's wrong.
I'm hungry.
Okay.
Did you not eat lunch today?
I did, but it was very small.
Are you actually hungry?